Yo, how's it going, everyone? This is Mitchell Mander here, and today I wanted to do a discussion on the Explorers from the Pokemon Horizon series, obviously the main villains from the series. So when it comes to like evil organizations within the Pokemon anime, the Explorers rank pretty high up. I like the Explorers, I like the concept behind them, I like the various different members. There's a few that I don't really particularly care for, but most of them I actually enjoy whenever they're on screen. Specifically a Sango. And a little bit of Amethio and Spinel as well. But Sango, she is a little gremlin. I love her. She is the best. But anyways, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because recently we got an episode focusing on Amethio and giving a little bit of background on his character and kind of his childhood a little bit, along with what he's going to do going forward. So it got me thinking, hey, well, this was nice. It kind of just reminded me that most of the Explorers really haven't been fleshed out. As in, we don't really know why they actually joined the Explorers. They kind of just are there, and they're just serving Gibeon. Which is not the worst thing in the world. He obviously recruited them, and they joined him and revere him for a reason. But, like, why, though? Like, what caused these characters to join the Explorers, and why? That's what we're going to be exploring in today's video. So we're going to start off with what we know about the Explorers, and then what I would like to see from the Explorers in the future, if we have time for some character moments for the Explorers moving forward. Now, real quick before I go any further, I just want to say if you're someone that's brand new to the channel and you like this type of content, it'd be pretty cool if you subscribe to the channel, like the video, watch the video to the end, and hit that notification bell. All these factors really do help, and I would definitely appreciate it. Alrighty, let's go back and talk about the Explorers now, shall we? So what do we know about the Explorers? Well, we know that Gibeon formed them. Well, technically it was Lucius, but this version of the Explorers was formed by Gibeon. Now, following the incident in Rakua, Gibeon somehow survived and managed to take some Requiem with him, but was seriously injured, and was treated by a woman at the base of Kamuri Mountain, which that woman's daughter would still be alive 100 years later and would actually see a Rayquaza come from the mountain. So that's where it started, that whole bad omen in episode 84. But anyways, that's besides the point. Anyways, from here, Gibeon created the Explorers, but created the company Exceed, essentially as a cover to do research on Requiem. They do other stuff, but Requiem kind of was, something that was done in complete secrecy. Also seems like there's an Exceed building in Kamuri Town. And presumably the headquarters of the Explorers is here too, so yeah, I guess that makes sense. Now, many years later, Gibeon somehow gets married and has a daughter. But then that daughter ends up marrying a man that would become the president of Exceed, but he's mostly irrelevant. But anyways, the two of them have a son, Amethio, who grows up to join the Explorers himself. Apparently, Amethio's father tried to join the Explorers in the past and ended up failing Gibeon and was casted out. So Gibeon doesn't want to end up like his father, although that kind of ends up happening later on, so oopsies. But tragedy would strike young Amethio, as his mother would lose her life in a car accident. And since his father was the president of a company, he really just doesn't have time to spend with his son. He's got a lot of business matters to take care of. Amethio was instead essentially raised by the family butler, being Hamber. You've probably seen this guy a few times in the series, so yeah. The dude not only is like the butler for the Explorers, but clearly he's Gibeon's family butler, so by extension he's serving essentially two roles. He's family butler and then also just overseeing the other Explorers. As we find out in episode 83, he trained Amethio, and he did the same for the other admin recruits for the Explorers, being Sango, Onyx, and Agot. Now, the sole exception within the Explorers is Spinel himself, because while the others were trained by Hamber, he was actually chosen by Gibeon, as he was a researcher at Exceed and at some point caught Gibeon's attention and probably impressed him. So based off of that, he was recruited into the Explorers just based off of his performance as a researcher at Exceed. So that's quite interesting. Now, speaking of Hamber, in episode 83, he essentially tells Amethio what is a fabrication from Gibeon himself. The events that occurred between Lucius and Gibeon, where all Gibeon was trying to do was, get some Requiem. It's such a cool thing. It causes one to probably just presumably live forever and could be good for humanity, but Lucius is a big bully that, doesn't want Gibeon to have any of it, so he seals it away. So that's why Gibeon wants to go back to Requiem. He has some Requiem that's kept him alive this whole time, but he needs Terapagos to go back there, unseal Lucius's seal that Terapagos placed, sealing Lucius and Requiem. So Gibeon can get his hands on some more Requiem, because it's just so great, and Lucius is just a big old bully. Not really sure if the other admin explorers have been told this, but seems like this is the first time Amethio is hearing this, so presumably no. So at this point, I can only assume that only Amethio is aware of this specific story. But then again, in the same episode, Spinel talks about how Gibeon needs to just live forever, and it's pretty clear that Spinel knows exactly what the Requiem does. So maybe he believes this side of the story too, and maybe he's aware of it. Who knows? It's not really told here, but we at least know that Amethio is finding it out for the first time here in this episode. Okay, now that we've established the Explorers, I'm going to be delving into each one of the characters within the Explorers and kind of just talking about them, like what their current development is and kind of where I want to see them go from here. And I kind of already talked about Amethio's development mostly here, so he's probably going to get the least amount of focus here, but I'm not going to be touching on Gibeon since we pretty much know enough about Gibeon in the story. And I want to focus in on the various different Explorer admins and kind of like their background and what I would like to see from them moving forward in the story. So we'll start out with Amethio here. Now, we've already talked about Amethio a little bit in this video already, so I'm not going to rehash any of that. But I will say that I am actually pretty happy with what they've done with Amethio lately. Especially episode 83, that did a really good job for Amethio. And I do like the parallels between him and Liko. I think that's all great. And then we obviously have Amethio's resolve in episode 83, where he resolves to save his grandfather because he suspects that Spinel is going to betray Gibeon. Which we'll be talking about Spinel here in a minute. But that's all great and all, but like I kind of feel like we're like slightly missing something here. Like, why is Amethio doing all this? Like, obviously he got shunned by his grandfather thanks to Spinel. So like what's he trying to do? What does he gain from all this? Like his grandfather's admiration? Like his grandfather wants to fulfill this wish of getting all the Requiem. And obviously he doesn't know how destructive this wish is, so obviously, something might change here in the future, because it looks like he's joining up with Liko and the others to oppose his grandfather, so probably things are going to be changing here. But why exactly does he want to do all this? Is it just simply to just, gain admiration from his grandfather? Maybe not to repeat the same mistakes his father made, which got him shunned, but then eventually Amethio got himself shunned thanks to Spinel. So is he just trying to prove himself here and, maybe just, continue his family's honor or just honor his grandfather or something like that? I'm not really sure. I just feel like there should be a little bit more of a push here in this direction. It's possible that we're going to learn a little bit more, as we get further into Rakua here soon. So I do have a little bit of hope that we'll learn a little bit more about Amethio's background here, but I think they've done a good job so far. I think when it comes to Amethio, maybe just a little bit more as to why he's doing all this and what's resolving him to do this in the first place. Is it just for his family, for the sake of his family, or is there something else here? Not sure, but hey, I think besides that, I think they've done a pretty good job with Amethio. So we'll see where we go from here and how he redeems himself here shortly. Now, next up we have Spinel, and I have to say I really do like Spinel. I think he works really well as a villain. I've enjoyed him so far in the series. I actually think he's really cool. I like Spinel a lot. That being said, why is he going to be betraying Gibeon? Like, why exactly would he do this? You know, what's his backstory? That's what I'm most curious about, because we know that he works at Exceed as a researcher, and that's why he got into the Explorers, but, like, what's his background? What is he trying to achieve? Like, what does he want from all of this? That's kind of what's currently missing in the story. Maybe we'll get that, you know, here soon. Because if he is indeed going to take over as, like, the main villain moving forward, if he does indeed betray Gibeon, then I kind of want to know more about his backstory and kind of where, you know, what led him to become part of the Explorers and want to betray Gibeon and maybe take the Requiem for himself. That's kind of where I'm a little bit unsure. We also got him just, like, straight up hating Amethio. Like, the two of them don't like each other, but, like, Spinel just straight up hates Amethio. Especially after what he tried to do to him back during the Trashful debut arc. Like, he does not like Amethio at all, and he wanted to get rid of him so that he can, you know, gain, you know, Gibeon's trust, so obviously he can, you know, backstab him later on. But, like, at this point, I'm like, hey, like, this is all cool, but, like, could use a little bit of a backstory as to, like, why he wants to do what he wants to do eventually. Like I said, as of right now, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but if he is planning on betraying Gibeon here, maybe we'll learn why exactly he wants to do this and wants to get Gibeon out of the way so he can do whatever he wants, maybe. Who knows? Maybe we'll learn that soon enough. Maybe we're kind of just, you know, getting ahead of ourselves here, but that's something that I would like to see from Spinel here in the near future. Now, moving on, we're going to be combining Sango and Onyx, just because the two characters are often with one another, they're paired up with one another, but they work really well with one another. Starting with Sango, you guys know that I love Sango. She is my personal favorite among the Explorers just because she's a little gremlin. She is very chaotic. She causes chaos wherever she goes. She blows up her glalie, like, all the time. It's actually kind of hilarious how crazy she is and unhinged she is at times. Whereas you have Onyx over here, who is basically just the opposite of her. He's a lot calmer. He's very no-nonsense. And yet, he just tolerates her shenanigans, which is just funny. But the one thing I will say is that, you know, he needs Sango more than Sango needs him. Because, yeah, with, like, him by himself doesn't really work very well, but when he's with Sango, they just work together really well. But when it comes to these characters, obviously, like, the one that actually got some recent development, which kind of took me by surprise, was Sango catching Screamtail. I actually thought that was a pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting the Explorers to catch a new Pokemon at this point in the series, so that was a pleasant surprise. I actually was happy with that. I'm looking forward to how it's going to fare in the upcoming Rising Voltacular vs. Explorer battle episode. So there's that. However, I gotta ask, like, despite all this, like, how did these characters come to join the Explorers? Like, we know that Hamber trained them. He trained everybody but Spinel. So we know that they were trained under Hamber, but why exactly did they join the Explorers? Like, is there a reason behind it? I would like to know why they joined the Explorers. Like, I like their characters, but, like, why did they join? That's kind of what I feel is lacking here. Maybe we'll learn about it in, like, an episode. You don't even have to have, like, a whole episode dedicated to, like, Sango's backstory or Onyx's backstory, but, like, maybe an episode that focuses on various Explorers and kind of just their background and, like, how they, you know, came to the present. Like, how they came to be in the story. I'd like to see that. Hopefully the series does that at some point, but yeah, that's the one thing that's lacking with these two in particular. Like, they don't really have, like, a reason why they joined the Explorers. We just don't know yet. So hopefully we get that established in the near future. Now, lastly, we have Agot of the Explorer admins, and out of all the Explorer admins, she is my least favorite. And that's just because we haven't really done a whole lot with her. We don't really know a lot about her, like, at all. Which is kind of disappointing if you ask me. I was hoping for a little bit more from her in the series. Like, her most significant role so far was infiltrating the Academy and getting the Terrapagos data. Successfully getting that. That's, like, her biggest W in the series. Other than that, she's, like, done, like, hardly anything, which is kind of disappointing. But regardless, Much like Sango and Onyx, we don't know exactly why she joined the Explorers. We just know that she, along with Sango, Onyx, and Amethio, were trained by Hamber. But the interesting thing about her, the most interesting thing at this point, is the fact that she's clearly conspiring with Spinel to betray Gibeon here in the near future. And why is that? Like, why did the two begin collaborating in the first place? Because we know that, again, Agot was recruited through the Explorers and trained with Hamber, whereas Spinel, he didn't do that. He got in through Gibeon, so that's actually really interesting. That's the most interesting thing about Agot. I want to know why exactly the two of them began collaborating. Like, did he recruit her? Did he show her something that basically convinced her to work with him? That's what I'm most curious about. I'm hoping maybe we'll learn more about that in the near future, since this betrayal is most likely coming here really soon. Maybe we'll learn exactly what's going on with these two, what exactly their plans are, and what they want to do here with the Requiem. That's probably the most interesting thing about her, and if I'm going to be completely honest, I get the feeling that Spinel is going to betray her at some point. And that's where things might get really interesting with Agot. That's if he does betray her, but I have a slight feeling that this collaboration is not going to end well, so yeah. So as of right now, I'm kind of a little bit let down with her, so I'm hoping that we learn more about this collaboration between her and Spinel and what exactly she wants out of all of this. That's what I'm most curious about with her, so hopefully we'll learn that very soon here. Alrighty guys, that's all I got for this video. So now in the comment section down below, I'd like to give it to you guys. What do you think about the Explorers? Are you satisfied with their development, or do you think they need more? Do you want to know a little bit more background on these characters? Kind of how they came to join the Explorers? Or what they're going to do in the future? Or what do you want them to do in the future? I'd like to hear your thoughts. So post them in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And guys, have a good day or night wherever you're at. And I will see you all later. Bye now.